Greetings, people who like new ideas. Gilbert Hyatt, the highly learned Scottish writer and historian, said, "Every important subject begins with a few eccentrics." And I'm definitely eccentric. I don't know if my subject is important, but I'm doing the best I can. I put this series, this set of videos, under a new heading because a lot of people were probably expecting me to pull out the accordion and do accordion stuff, but these videos don't always require an accordion. So let's just talk about some theory here. Let's continue my discussion of my innovation, my invention called the amplified circle of fifths. I've actually been working on it for decades. I don't know if it will ever be finished, but I'm still working on it. And I took an ordinary, this is just one sample, one example. I took an ordinary bland, very, very basic circle of fifths. This is just one of many. And I thought, you know what? Let me try to make it better, try to complete it, try to finish it. And I ended up with what I call the amplified circle of fifths. Now, since my last few videos, I've made a nicer chart. This is a little bit nicer, a little bit neater. It took me forever to do it. But this is my amplified circle of fifths, which we talked about. And in previous videos, if you watch them, you'll see that I chose specific intervals for my data rings. Here's your data rings, right? The data rings are basically what might be called a donut chart. You have your different donuts. You have a donut here, you have a donut here, there's a donut, and then it's a pie chart because you have your pie slices. So this is a hybrid donut pie chart. All right. Now, when you wonder how or why I chose intervals for the data rings, I chose them based on the harmonic series. And here's the handy chart I've shown a million times. And the harmonic series has given me so much over the past decades that I can't ignore it. I have to say, you know what? The harmonic series occurs in nature, so it might be very, very important. Now, I blew up this little piece here, this section from here to here. I made it larger so you can see it better. Here's your fourth partial, and then all the way up to your ninth partial. But I made it a little bit bigger so you can get an idea of how it looks full size. And I noticed with these early partials, okay, I noticed that the first chord realized, the first common chord, was a major chord. All right, you can make a C major chord with these partials, and then the next chord I noticed was a diminished. You have an E diminished chord. That's your second one. And then your third would be a minor chord, then an augmented, then another major. And if you start down here on your fourth partial, you can actually make a dominant 7 chord, which is very, very critical and very powerful in music. Without it, we'd be lost. Now you see, I noticed that the second prominent chord that can be made using your basic partials. All right, now we're using a fundamental of C2. That's your fundamental tone. That's how we get these sounds. But I noticed that the second prominent chord that could be created was a diminished, not a minor, not an augmented. I thought, well, maybe there's something to this. Maybe there's something valuable here. So that's why on my amplified circle of fifths, the diminished chord, you see the diminished chord is featured. In fact, the diminished 7th chord is actually featured. It's basically what the whole chart's all about. You say, well, that's goofy. Well, no, but it works, and it works in a lot of different ways. Okay? So now we have the amplified circle of fifths. You can see my previous videos if you want to get a better idea of what's going on. And in each slice, you have a counter major cell. See, that's in your counter major data ring. You have a major cell, a minor cell, and a diminished cell. That's all on here. Counter major, major, minor, diminished. And the beauty of it is, in my system, these letters, all right, these names can represent a tone, a chord, or a scale, or whatever you want it to represent. I'm going to get into that a little bit later, show you the beautiful thing. So here we have a lot of diminished chords in here, and this is the only way I could get it to work the way I wanted it to. I tried minors, augmented, I tried majors, and it doesn't work. Now, we'll get back to that. For example, you might have noticed in previous videos I mentioned that there is a no dominant seventh data ring, and you kind of don't need it. Because here's an example. So here's an example. If you want to make a dominant 7, you want to make an F dominant 7, you can use your F tone and your A diminished chord. All right, there's your connection. You can use your F major chord from your major data ring and use your E flat tone from your counter major ring. All right, you can do it that way. All right. And also, there's another way to do it, which I didn't mention because it's kind of goofy. But you can just use these letters, these letter names, as tones. Here's an F tone, an A tone, a C, and an E flat. See the green dot? You combine these, the cells with the green dot, F, A, C, E flat, and you get your dominant 7th chord. So you see right on here, there's already 3 ways to get your dominant 7th chord, so you don't really need a data ring for that. Okay, do you understand that? Then I wanted to quickly show you that the amplified circle of fifths provides a way to determine your sharps and flats in your keys. You use what I call the principal line. It's an imaginary theoretical line, and I showed that in previous videos, but now I'm showing it with my improved chart. It's a little bit neater, a little bit prettier. And your principal line for your flats will go straight across. And your principal line for your sharps has to be offset because this goofy key of C here requires no sharps, no flats. So you have to have an offset. So if you have an offset here, when your line goes down, you have to have an offset down here. You can review my previous videos and it explains clearly how you determine your sharps and flats for your keys in your major data ring. Okay? And in fact, getting back to your 7th chord construction, here's the symbol I use in my system, in my book. Here's traditional, F7, you've seen this. So I just showed you on that paper. Let me show you again. I just showed you how you can make a dominant 7th chord 3 different ways. See, here's your counter major, major. These are your rings as they go in. All right, see, as they go in. Now, there's 3 different ways here. You say, well, I'm confused. It's goofy. Okay, well, look at this. Here it is on staff paper, and this is my clef, just like a G clef, so don't panic. But you see here, the chord, the desired chord, can be made if you take your major tones from your major data ring, and you take 1 tone from your counter major ring, and you get your F dominant 7. Here, all right, is a different way. You take your chord tones, all right, from your diminished data ring, and then you take your root tone from your minor data ring, and you get the same thing. So that's how you get your, excuse me, how you get your dominant 7th chord from your amplified circle of fifths. That's just 2 ways to do it, and there are at least 3. Right, I'm going to show you that. Now, I showed you how to use the amplified circle to determine what works well with your major tonal center, if you so choose one. If you choose a major tonal center or a tonic, sorry. And I showed you how to figure out what works with a minor tonal center. If you choose, let's say, a minor tonal center, I showed that. So you should be familiar with that. And I talked about the perfect chord, your theoretical perfect chord. This happens to be a C perfect chord. And you can compare that to your traditional common major chord. See, it's a little different, a little weird, but it's useful. And it's it's very useful for what I call the circle of fifths shortcut to the blues. It's called the circle shortcut. I talked about that. You get your blues scale quick and easy. Right? You can go back and review that. I talked about how you can make simple songs. Let's say you can do the blues in a major key with major chords, or you can do the blues with minor chords, or you can do that. And I showed you in a previous video on how to make an easy song using simple chords. I selected a few. This is traditional notation. This is mine in my system. And I showed you how you can take select chords that I just showed and match them with select scales. All right, I did that in previous videos. And I also showed that using the amplified circle of fifths, I figured out what chords and what tones to not play. To not play. Don't play these. I showed you how that works, all right? And I say all that to say this. I'd like to, in the next video, show how to mix the simple chords I use for my Russian Balkan melody and mix those with the blues chords and scale that I mentioned. I'd like to mix them together to show you a variety, okay? I'd like to get the accordion out and do some variety, and these will be the chords. I'll show you this, and I'll show you how they can be created theoretically using your amplified circle of fifths. Here I blew up one quadrant. See, I blew up one quadrant just to show you how you can combine and make the chords that you need, the desired chords. Down here on the neater version of the chart, I show you your connections, how to make your chords on my new revised, real pretty chart. And then I'm going to show you how you play them with your buttons on your accordion. I'll show you exactly what to play like I always do in my accordion videos. I show you how to use all 5 fingers. So that's what we're going to get into. Now, you say, Joey, I've already heard this stuff before. You have, but I'm probably the only guy on the internet who stresses and emphasizes my failures, because it's very important. I told you many times, I tried to develop a comprehensive scale chord system. A system that is comprehensive and complete, and a system that would use my amplified circle of fifths and use my ideas from my book. I tried to do that. In other words, I tried to develop the ultimate system, and I failed. I failed. And you say, well, why do you keep telling people that? Well, because when you fail, ask great businessmen, people who have become millionaires. A lot of times you fail, but when you fail, you get an idea. And that idea will lead to new failures. But sometimes it leads to successes. So what I'm trying to say is 2 important things. One, this is my invention. This is my hard work over many, many years, and I'm still working on it. But I like this and would like people to use it and think about it. But I'm also saying, you know what? I'm challenging you. I'm saying continue the search, because it might be possible for someone to develop the ultimate comprehensive scale chord system. I got very, very close. I'm very close. But I'm just not there yet. I've conceded defeat at this point. But I'm saying that, you know what? I gladly share this idea with you. You can use it and play with it. But maybe you can do what I failed to do. And that's it. I thank you for being incredibly patient. And I hope to pick up the accordion next time and show you that little weird song. Good night.